Welcome to another episode of the 24th Floor. Richard Denson flying solo. At least for the top of this show, we are starting things in the month of May, and may the odds be ever in your favor. And if that's whether you're a fan of the Grizzlies or you're a fan of another NBA team like myself, I'm a Hawks fan, we want to kick things off with welcoming back a friend of the program, Dr. Rusty Witten. Welcome to the show again, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me, man. Glad to be back.
And like I said, we're on the eve. We're about to talk. The NBA draft lottery is coming up, and of course, it's something that a lot of Grizzlies fans have been looking forward to ever since they kind of waved the white flag when they traded Jaren Jackson.
Sure.
So Rusty, before we even get into like our simulations, how are you feeling about the draft lottery?
Yeah, I'm glad it's here. Right? Like, it's been what we've been looking forward to since we obviously mailed it in when we traded Jaren, right? We've been looking forward to this day. It's finally upon us. Real quick plug, Sunday we're going to have a watch party at Grind City Brewing watching the lottery, so y'all come out and hang out at 2 o'clock for that. But I'm glad it's here because we'll finally know who we're going to pick, or at least where we're going to pick, where we're going to start from, and then we'll see what ZK does from there. So I guess relief, long story long. Yeah. I'm relieved that it's finally here. So, you know, with anything, they call us like sickos, whether it's like wrestling or basketball or football, people who really the nitty gritty in the deep. So for the NBA draft sickos, they use this thing called Tankathon. If we can pull that up on our screen. As we are working to pull that up on our screen. The Tankathon thing is basically a simulation where you kind of like simulate what happens in the lottery, because the lottery obviously is so many teams, and it's just like how you play the Mega Millions for the lottery, you can play the draft lottery. And so with the Grizzlies, I didn't ran this simulation a whole bunch of times. They didn't come out. And as we are waiting for it, let's just kind of as we wait for the Tankathon thing to get up, let's just say the Grizzlies land at number 4. Yeah. What do you think would probably be the target and everything? Because I know we talk so much on this program. The consensus top 4 is AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson. If the Grizz get number 4, where do you think we would? Yeah, so I have been on Tankathon more than I probably should over the last few weeks, much like yourself. Like, you know, it's part of my daily routine now, have my coffee, hit a couple Tankathon spins and see what we get. At 4, I might be a bit controversial here. There's 2 players that I would go for. Obviously, for higher, I'm a big Cam Boozer guy. We talked about that before the show. But I like Caleb Wilson's upside. Some people call him Baby KG, some of that kind of stuff, but we haven't seen a whole lot. He also has some flares of Jaren Jackson Jr., so he could fit in here. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say if the Grizzlies are 4th and I'm Zach Kleiman, I am calling Keaton Wagler from the University of Illinois. I like his game. It mimics a lot of what Hallie and SGA do with just getting to the mid-range, letting the game come to them. They don't force the ball. And if you're telling me that you can get a guy like that can comfortably run point, get Cedric Howard off the ball, let him kind of move around, and the 2 of them be the backcourt, I would take Keaton Wagler as high as 4. You said you draw comparisons to Keaton Wagler and Tyrese Halliburton. It's a bold move. I said it's there. Like, that's the C. That's kind of what I see his future be. I like it. I did like Keaton a lot in the tournament, man. I mean, here, all right, we got it up. Let's hit that draft lottery simulator. Hit it. Hit the button. Hey, look at that. Okay, so all right, let's stay right there. So in this simulation, I'm glad that my Hawks would get the number 2 pick right afterward. But let's say, okay, in this simulation, the Grizzlies get the number 1 pick. So what do you do if you're Zach Kleiman and you have the number 1 pick? I think this is where we're going to disagree. I'm going Cam Boozer. We talked about it off air. We've had so much what ifs with this Grizz Next Gen. That I want the sure thing. And as close to a sure thing in this draft to me is Cam Boozer. The game is there. He's able to get his shots. He's been a double-double, a bucket, a winner at every single level. I don't know that he has the highest ceiling in this draft, but he has the highest floor. And if you compare that with Zach Edey, Gigi, and Ced, what we already have cooking, I just think Cam Boozer's game translates so well to what Memphis wants to do. I hear the AJ DeBansta. I think he could be the best player in this draft. I'm just more sure thing. If I'm Zach Kleiman and this happens, Cam Boozer, you're a Memphis Grizzly. So 2 things I'll say about this. Cam Boozer reminds me so much of his dad in the way, and maybe that makes sense because learning under his dad, but when I look at his ceiling in the NBA, I look at him, he's just going to be just as good as his dad, just slightly better. But that's not a bad thing. His dad was a multi-time All-Star, a guy who was on Team USA. So Cam, like, I get it. It's the safe pick. But the thing with AJ, to my other point, is I think the NBA is driven by really good wings. If you have a really good wing player, you have a higher ceiling to win it all compared to if you have a guard. Because think about it. For the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, they've been in the conference finals 2 years in a row. Might be 3 if they get past San Antonio. And then, I mean, you obviously have Tatum and Brown. The Celtics won a championship. We know with the Durant, like, even though Steph Curry was the face of the Warriors team, once they got Durant, Durant was the best player of the team. You see Kawhi Leonard with the Spurs and the Raptors, and LeBron, obviously. Yeah. Wings really drive the NBA.
Sure.
And I think AJ DeBanza has the play where if you take a guy like him and he ends up reaching what he's supposed to be, you're standing at the top for a long time and you're not having to fall off. And that's, I think, the thing with Ja Morant, because the Grizzlies were a team that their best player was a guard, not necessarily a small guard, but with the way Ja plays, more leans in on athleticism, because when you just sit back and let Ja shoot, then you have tour dates.
Sure,
exactly. With Ja putting up tour dates. So I think if the Grizzlies lean into, okay, we want our best player to be a wing, and that would be DeBanza, then that's where you go. And I think with this draft, because they have 2 picks, you're hoping you get your next franchise player.
So a couple counterpoints that I can see the DeBanza thing. I think the potential's there. The guy's uber athletic. He was on a bad team. Does he know how to win? Does he know how to contribute to winning? We'll find out. I think I don't want to overthink it, and I'm not going to be upset if we draft AJ DeBanza. Like, I think he can help this team be a lot better. What I see, though, is a big lineup. You were talking about how the Knicks kind of bullied your Hawks out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you can have Cam Boozer at the 3, playing a big 3. You could have Santi at the 4, Edie at the 5. There's a world where we maybe get like a Mo Johnson from Michigan. It could also be a Julius Randle-esque type 4 beside those guys.
He might come back.
But that is a massive lineup with a lot of size, rebounding capabilities. And I think Boozer is better than what he's getting credit for. He's more athletic than his dad. I think it's been more of a system thing. Like, I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. So I think he's better than that. But I'm not going to sit here and argue that A.J. DeBanza is not the most athletic freako guy in this draft. And I think he's going to make himself he could be the guy in this draft and will make a GM, keep his job that much longer.
Do you think there's a situation that could happen in this draft where Grizzlies fans are disappointed? Like, what would be, I guess, worst case situation for the draft lottery? You know what I'm saying? So if we come in, would it just be a bad thing if the Grizzlies stay put at what would be if they
6 is where we're at now?
Is that bad?
It depends on how it falls, right? Like, if you can score a guy like a Keaton Wagler at 6, that's a massive win.
Okay.
Darius Acuff, I'm kind of back and forth on.
That's who a lot of people want.
I get it. He's a bit undersized. He doesn't play a lick of defense. And I understand that's the system. I understand that's people trying to, he's just doing offense for Arkansas. I get that. But I saw enough tape that it makes me a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
I could justify it at 6. But I think for me, and I was going to ask you this, like, who are the players that scare you the most? And for me, it's Nate Ament from Tennessee.
Oh, yes. I feel like that's American Zachary Risachet.
That's a guy that's going to get a GM fired because he's going to have a great combine. He's very athletic, but the tape doesn't lie. And when he's on the court, it just doesn't translate. And so that, to me, staying at 6 or even worst case scenario, falling to like 8 and having to pick a Nate Ament, again, there's guys that I would reach for there. Braden Burris from Arizona comes to mind. Karim Lopez is a guy I'd reach for at 8. But worst case scenario would be, and I think this is what happened. You remember a couple years ago when we drafted Zaire Williams, right? I think the pick was Franz Wagner or Josh Giddey, and we were convinced that's who it was going to be. And I think Zach Kleiman was too. And then when both of those guys were off the board, we panicked and drafted Zaire. And I think that would be the only way we would get Nate Ament. But to me, that's worst case scenario, man.
Okay, last thing I got to say before we have to get you out of here. The Grizzlies have 2 draft picks. Obviously, they wish that they had 2 shots in the lottery because they were hoping the Orlando Magic didn't make the playoffs. The Magic made the playoffs. That's a whole nother story. Do you think the Grizzlies stay put, or do you think that they trade up? They use that second Magic pick as cachet to move up.
Absolutely. I think they're moving up. I do not think they pick at 16. I think they try and move up. Zach Kleiman flew all the way to New Zealand to watch Karim Lopez play for the New Zealand Breakers. I think that's kind of a, hey, writing on the wall type thing here. Like, this is one of our guys. And he's always traded up. Cedric Howard was his guy. He traded up for Cedric Howard. Like, he goes and gets the guys that he wanted. Again, he wanted to get Wagner or Josh Giddey, but landed with Zaire. I think we trade up. I think we chase one of those guys. I would be very shocked if we're still sitting at 16.
Well, we will see what happens. Rusty, we always appreciate you having on the program. Tell folks where we can catch the draft party that you're having, or draft lottery party, I should say.
Yeah, so we're going to do both. So come out to Grind City Brewing on Sunday at 2 p.m. If the Grizzlies get a top 5 pick, Grind City is doing $5 beers for the afternoon. So we're rooting for the Grizzlies to get a top 5 pick and for $5 beers. It'll be at Grind City Brewing downtown. Beautiful location. They just opened the amphitheater there. Come hang out with us on Sunday.
And as always, get your plugs in and what you got going on Bluff City Media.
That's it, man. The 2 Bucks Sports Show is 11 a.m. Central on Bluff City Media's YouTube channel. I am Rusty _ or actually on Twitter, I'm Buckets _BCM. Give me a follow. I'll break down all the Grizzlies and NBA injuries. I talk about the Grizz ad nauseum, Mississippi State sports, all that, but Buckets _BCM on X.
Rusty Witten, the doctor of physical therapy. We're going to take a quick break on 24th Floor. We'll be back after this. All right, welcome back. All right, I got my man back on the set with me, joining with me, Mr. Ruben Diaz. Ruben, did you have to take a bathroom break for that first segment?
First of all,
my man had to go, didn't he?
I was not in the bathroom. I was in a meeting with our boss talking about getting you fired.
The principal's office. I'm undeniable over here. Many have tried and many have failed.
I'm just saying, you might want to get a box ready. Get a box ready.
My feet up for this one. I'm undeniable. But nevertheless, as always, I'm one of my favorite parts of the 24th Floor. We have to bring in the man that you can't talk Ole Miss athletics without. You can watch him right here on the 24 Plus app. He's the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch right here on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcast. Welcome again to the program, Mr. Stephen Willis.
There it is. How you guys doing?
Not bad, not bad. I'm just enjoying this final day with Richard as he gets ready to get fired. He got a box in the office there ready for him.
Wow. Now, is it one of those like white boxes that you see on TV, or is it like one of those moving boxes? I mean,
no, it's a white box. Just little. Okay. The white box is really just the lid. You know, it's not the full box. It's just the lid of the box that's got the handles. Yeah, we got that ready for him. It's got his name on it and everything.
All right, outstanding.
Well, Stephen, as a wrestling fan, I have to kind of take a nod to my guy, Cody Rhodes. He likes to say this thing, what do you want to talk about? So that's what we'll just start calling these segments with you, my friend. What do you want to talk about in the world of Ole Miss athletics?
I want to talk about the national media is kind of catching up on the hype of this football team. It took a little bit. It took a minute. But they are finally catching on. You've heard Greg McElroy call them criminally underrated. Josh Pate says that they're a playoff team. They got put in Brad Crawford's playoff bracket. So the hype is starting to build because people are actually looking at the players that are coming back on this roster. And my whole thing is with this Ole Miss team, for some reason, it was always the Jimmies and the Joes until it wasn't. And because of what went on last November, everybody said, well, Ole Miss is going to drop off. And then you look at it and it's like, hey, they've got the best backfield in the country. I think we need to hold off on that whole drop-off thing.
Yeah, what they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. Isn't that the old saying? So with this team, though, even though people are just now starting to catch on, does it shock anybody if you really ultimately are watching with the people they have coming back, with the fact that they didn't miss a beat in the coaching change, right? In fact, won a playoff game in the coaching change. So does it really shock you at all?
No, it doesn't shock me at all. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss getting his case approved back in February and March and all of that, that was the main key. That's what made this team a playoff team. Because if Trinidad Chambliss hadn't made it back for Ole Miss, Deuce Knight was going to be a good quarterback, but now you're talking about this Ole Miss team being a 20 to 25 level team. With Trinidad Chambliss, this is a national championship contender. And as long as you keep the Ferrari on the road and let Kejuan Lacey do what he does, and with the defense coming back that's supposed to be really good, I think this team is going to be better than 2025. Now, the question becomes then, what does the record look like? Because with the difficulty of the schedule in 2025, you could be a better team and have a worse record. But as Brad Crawford said, 9-3 with this Ole Miss team, with this schedule that they have, this could be the SEC team that gets into the playoff even at 9-3 because of how hard the schedule looks like.
Well, we talk so much about Trinidad Chambliss, and so I think something that we need to probably talk more about is Kewan Lacey. He had a phenomenal season last year. Like I said, he was in the running for Doak Walker, but as we know, he had some lingering lower body issues with his knee and with his leg. And I was wondering, okay, if he misses time, Ole Miss was able to kind of keep the water going, carry water without him. Do they have the depth at running back that they can afford for Kewan Lacey to miss significant time and put it all on Trinidad to kind of get it done?
Yeah, this offense looked really different in the second and third quarter of the Miami game whenever he wasn't able to go.
Yeah.
So Pete Golding went into the transfer portal, got Mekhi Frazier from Michigan State, good running back. He's kind of a thumper if you want to look at it that way. He went and got Josh Dye out of Southern Utah, an FCS guy that ran for 2,000 yards and nearly 30 touchdowns with Southern Utah. And JT Lindsey came in with Frank Wilson from LSU. They think they have more depth. They want to be able to run the ball whenever number 5 is not in the game. That's what Pete Golding said. Whenever 5's not there, you need the defense to know that, hey, we might run the football because it was all pass when he wasn't there a year ago. So Ole Miss thinks it is there. They got some high pedigree guys with multiple years of eligibility to go through the system. They have Shakai Mills-Knight, who went to the Baylor School in Chattanooga, who I think Pete Golding called his size-speed ratio elite. That means he's a big guy that can really move. So they think they have the pieces to do it, but you're right. Kewan Lacey, who ran for 1,567 yards and 24 touchdowns and was a Doak Walker finalist, he's going to be the bell cow. But what happens if he has to come out of the game for a little bit, which is going to happen over a 15, 16 game football season?
Let's switch gears a little bit, Stephen. And you said something earlier. You said they think they're going to have a better defensive team this year. So, last year the theme was kind of like, hey, you just got to outscore everybody, right? You're not going to stop everybody, just get get more points than everybody else. What makes you feel like this year's team is going to actually be better, maybe be one of those SEC stoppers this year?
The front seven for Ole Miss last year was really, really good, but it was masked by the fact that Ole Miss could not play man coverage.
Yes.
And that became the issue for Pete Golding going into this transfer portal window. The first thing they did, they went and got Jay Crawford, who was the top corner for the top defense in the SEC at Auburn a year ago. So he's supposed to be like the Trey Amos level player. And you move Antonio Kite to the number 2 corner, and all of a sudden that position is taken care of. So what happens about safety? Ole Miss picked up Janelle Aguero, who went to Georgia, a former 5-star. They picked up Edwin Joseph, a Florida State player that was really good, kind of a ball hawk. And they picked up Sharif Denson, who honestly was a really good corner at Florida, but Ole Miss, they're going to ask him to fill the same role that, I don't know if anybody's listening, but what John Saunders did, if you know that name. So there's a little bit of consistency added to the backfield, a lot of man-to-man coverage ability, so you can line up and say, hey, these guys are going to be at man coverage. We're going to let this front seven kind of work because you have Walter Nolan, the Sugar Bowl defensive player of the game. Keaton Thomas and Luke Farrelly, really good players at linebacker, and then Cam Franklin and like I said, Will Eccles is going to be very good. And they brought in Blake Purchase and Renaud from Alabama to line up on the edge. So they should be a more dominant front seven than they were a year ago. Plus you add in the ability to play man-to-man coverage, and they have a chance to be pretty good.
I'm so glad you hit the nail on the head because that man coverage killed them against Miami. And so that was something that I always saw, and obviously you remember that first Georgia game, they didn't get off the field. They couldn't force any points. So while we talk a lot about that Ole Miss offense, it's just hard to me to see a team sustain that level of play without the defense being able to win you some games. So I'm so glad you touched on that.
Yeah, Pete Golding said you don't win the last game unless you can play man coverage.
Yep.
And he was talking about the national title game. And that's pretty cool that Pete's having that ramp. But I guess when you're 19 seconds away from getting to the national title game, you can have those conversations. I mean, it's kind of a rarefied air for Ole Miss, but the back end of that defense is going to be huge because the front end of this defense is massively elite, maybe better than they were in 2024.
So I know we have to get off here, but I'm going to make my quick point before we do. The reason for those at home who maybe don't understand why man coverage is so important in this situation is because if you can't mask, hide, or change your coverages pre-snap, if the other team knows you've got to run cover 2, cover 3, or quarters, good quarterbacks can pick that apart. Good quarterbacks can pick apart zone coverage if you just give them enough time. And so being able to go man and having to make those quarterbacks make decisions post-snap as opposed to pre-snap is a huge advantage for your defense. So there you go.
And it's going to make them much more explosive.
Yep.
It's always interesting to me when we talk about man coverage in football versus basketball, because in basketball, I want that matchup. I want the one-on-one. In football, it's like, maybe I want to guard this guy. Help, bring some help. It's funny. Steven, really quick, we touched on football, but obviously baseball and softball is going on. Could you give us a quick update on how Ole Miss is rocking in baseball right now?
Ole Miss had an upset in the first round of the softball SEC tournament against South Carolina, 2-0. They're kind of getting hot at the right time. The SEC softball list, usually every team gets into the NCAA tournament, so we'll see how that looks. Ole Miss has 2 weekends left against Texas A&M and Alabama. In baseball, Ole Miss needs to win both series if they want to host. 3-3 is not going to be good enough as well. So we'll see how that goes as this sports calendar for Ole Miss in this academic year kind of wraps up.
It's sad that just college athletics is ending. Steven, really quickly, tell the people, what are you working on?
We are talking about the hype. We are getting ready for football season. We're going to be at SEC Media Days, so we're going to start looking at storylines that we can touch on there and start building what's going on. You can catch us at the Locked On Ole Miss YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Join the Everydayer Club, where we have some coach breakdowns, different people contributing to the site. That is the Everydayer Club.
The Everydayer Club. All right, Steven, as always, we appreciate your time. We will join you again to say, what do you want to talk about with Ole Miss? All right, we'll take a quick break. We are back after this. It's my favorite segment of the show. The best thing I saw. Normally we have Ezekiel Telemaco for the past couple of weeks, but he called out sick. So finally making his debut on the 24th floor, news anchor, news reporter extraordinaire, Kevin McNamara.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate the introduction, Richard. Happy to be here, excited. I've got a lot of sports takes, a lot of expertise, certainly much more so than Ruben Diaz.
A lot of sports takes and expertise. That's an interesting way to frame what you're going to bring to the table today. All right.
So, Kev, because you are our guest, with this best thing I saw.
Ladies first, obviously.
Very clever. Very clever.
What's the best thing you've seen in pop culture, sports, entertainment?
Best thing I saw, of course, it's the NBA playoffs right now. The Knicks, they're on a heater, and they had game 1 against Philly the other day. Same night as the Met Gala. Of course, a lot of conflicts, a lot of Knicks fans in New York, in fashion, celebrities. Timothy Chalamet, though, not at the Met Gala. He said, Kylie Jenner, you can go. I'm going to go to watch the Knicks win big playoff game. Kudos to Timothy Chalamet. That's a real fan right there. That's how I would be living my life if I was Timothy Chalamet. I appreciate it. Where's my camera? Here we go. Give me one shot. Timothy Chalamet. Okay, and then compare him.
Did you just say if I was Timothy Chalamet? Please.
Some have called me the Timothy Chalamet of
the Mid-South.
I like to think of myself in the way of Timothy Chalamet, yeah. I mean, I'm certainly a little more talented, but he's pretty good too as well.
All right.
See, now Ruben and Metis, man. I'm so glad we got
So the best thing, just so I'm clear, the best thing you saw was a guy watching a basketball game.
Well, no, it's the act.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this.
Of ignoring what his peers are doing and being able to stand out for himself, especially compared to fellow celebrity Knicks fan Ben Stiller. He, in fact, was at the game. Now, Smart man, because he is married. So this is really the difference between having a wife, having a girlfriend. You can
Which
tell
you know neither about. You don't know anything about either one of those.
Yes, but I respect Ben Stiller. He's like, I gotta go with what my wife wants me to do. Go to the Met Gala. Save the Knicks for later. Timothy Chalamet. Kudos to you, sir.
I love Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, he's great.
He's the GOAT.
Looking forward. Loved Marty Supreme.
He's on his way to being the GOAT.
Dune 3, I'm excited for.
Just so we're clear, don't take any relationship advice from this guy right
or any
here.
advice, really. But I can put it together in a good package.
All right, we've got about 2.5 minutes left. So who's
Ruben,
that? Am I
Ruben,
next?
yeah, what's your
All
best
right,
thing?
what's the best thing I saw? Happened here in Memphis. I didn't get to personally go, so I was had a little bit of regret, but I got to see everybody else enjoy it. T-Pain here at the RiverBeat Music Festival, and he was not only singing, but getting his dance on as well. I don't know how well you would consider this dancing, but I love the fact that he brought all that energy to Memphis, and it was a great RiverBeat Festival. No drama, no problems, great acts. The city came out and supported. I was extremely bummed that I couldn't go. I really, really, really wanted to go.
You didn't want to use your media credentials?
I had other obligations that I could not get out of, or else I would have been there. But yes, I wanted to go watch Wale and T-Pain. So shout out to everybody who went and supported and made it a great event.
It is a great event. I'm sad De La Soul canceled. That would have been great to go see. I love De La Soul.
You're a De La Soul fan?
Yeah,
I have no clue who that is.
I contain multitudes.
You contain something. All right, now you're
All right, so my best thing, I'm going to bring it back to the basketball world.
About 30 seconds.
It's about his favorite team. The Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards returning against the Spurs, 18 points. The T-Wolves still home court advantage, getting past the Spurs. Yeah, you know what time it is, K-Mac.
Game 2.
Exactly.
Tonight, I'm picking them. They're gonna do it. They're gonna beat the Spurs, and we'll see what happens against the Thunder.
I think that if Ant was just a better outside role model, he'd be the face of the NBA. Duke can hoop, but I mean, when you pay your child support all up at once, you ain't got to see the kid no more. I don't think that's a good idea.
Man. Here we go.
He's still young. He's maturing. He's figuring things out.
We got 3 seconds. I know we got to get out. So
thank you for joining us on the 24th floor. We're so happy. Come back, Kev.
I'm happy to.
Please don't. All right.
Thank you for joining us on the 24th floor. Shout out to everybody behind the scenes who helped us. Thank you to Kevin McNamara for joining us. Thanks to Rusty Witten for joining us. As always, our guy Stephen Willis. We'll catch you next time right here on the 24th floor.
Not him, though. The rest of us.